Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are all well, keeping safe, keeping warm for those who are in areas that it's almost raining like where I am. And just welcome back to another session of Making Sense. For those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Please tell us where you're tuning in from. Even if you've been here before, let us know where you're tuning in from. And just reminding everybody what Making Sense is about. It's built off the principles from my book, Making Sense. For those of you who have it, I know you've dug into it quite a bit. And those who don't have it, please make sure you get it. And we'll be sharing where to get it after this. But our mission here is really to build a community of financially empowered people and change mindsets as we do that. So with me once again, today is Sheba Jaggi, who's the head of training and communication at Centonomy. Sheba, welcome, and how are you today?
Thank you, and welcome to everybody who's watching from wherever they are. I'm doing fine, WACEKE. I'm okay. It's been an interesting week, and I'm really excited about the topic for today. Good to see you as well.
Yeah, you too. And I'm so excited to welcome a friend of Centonomy, one of our mentors, Dennis Tonkei. Welcome. Dennis is the head of Rotla Limited, a real estate company, and I know he'll be sharing more about that. Dennis, welcome. And how are you?
Very well, thank you, WACEKE. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're so glad to have you on this particular topic. Dennis, I know it's also something close to your heart. Sheba, I know we love this topic.
Yeah.
But for everybody who's joined us, first of all, welcome to everybody. Today we're talking about overcoming fear and fulfilling your purpose. And I think it's such an important conversation, especially with what is going on right now. And there've been various challenges that people have faced. But what I hope you'll get out of this conversation today we are just having conversations. We're not saying we are counselors. We're not saying we are psychologists. We're just people who are in the boat when it comes to this, this challenge we have to overcome called fear. But what I hope you'll get out of the conversation today, first of all, you are not alone. Because sometimes when we are scared, we feel like we are alone. Some understanding of fear. We may call our fears the same thing, but in some way they're always different. Be able to build a muscle, because overcoming fear, when we say overcoming fear, it's all about building a muscle. It's not about a feeling. It's not about saying that at every step in time, if you're on this journey of overcoming fear, that you'll feel at peace and you'll feel joy. That's how you know you'll overcome fear. No, it's about building a muscle and then the motivation to move, because what fear stops us from doing is actually moving. So before I get Dennis and Sheba to tell us a bit more about what they've been feeling this season, especially with fear, why this topic is so important is because I think, especially now, as we move forward, whatever move forward means, and I think move forward means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. People will definitely have to make different choices, and those choices will not be easy. They'll be the right choices, but they won't come easy, and there'll be this monster of fear in your way. I firmly believe this has been a season of reset and identity shift. It is important we leave some things behind. So it's challenging, but a lot of us have sat home. We may have ideas. We may have seen things differently. And this is a time I believe we are all being called to have an entrepreneurial mindset about things. It's just not because of starting a business. So you may be in a job, but realize, hey, I need to have another source of income. You may want to change your business. You may be moving forward differently with your business or your job. But I think we can all agree we've been pushed out of our comfort zones. And if we don't have this kind of conversations, we'll be sitting there where it's like we're in a cave and we can see the light, but we can't quite move into the light. And we don't want that to happen. So let me start with Dennis. Dennis, welcome. And I think you can tell people about what you do a bit more. But please tell us, as an entrepreneur, as a mentor, what has been your ups and downs with fear during this season?
Great. My name is Dennis Tonkei. I run a real estate business called Rotla Limited. We're based at the Landmark Plaza in Upper Hill, the 13th floor, right opposite the Nairobi Hospital. This has been an interesting time because if someone would have explained this circumstance of what is happening in November, we would have written them off as not just even a doomsday scenario sayer, but of course, it's far-fetched. I mean, you would simply tell him, look, this is a stuff of fiction. It's far-fetched.
Yeah.
But only for us to come to the point where we realize that even what we thought was far-fetched is actually possible. And the things that we have been taught and learned from other business owners.
Yes.
Have 6 months of your savings, have a plan, and after you have a plan, be ready to adjust, be ready to change, and all these things are now becoming a reality. So the beauty about being a business person in these times is we have other business people, and it's time to shift our mindset and talk to them and find out what they're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dennis. Sheba, how has your journey with fear been?
One of the things that fear has done, and let me refer to the question you asked specifically with this particular topic of season that we're in, of COVID.
Yeah.
Fear has caused me to just challenge myself and just do. We will see how things are going to be. Especially because I'm someone who plans a lot. I'm a planner.
Yeah.
So I have realized, like, in the past, I am afraid, first I have one business, my very first business, the one I've been with for the last 7 years. And then I chose to focus on my passion in 2018. And so just started my journey towards being a coach and really focusing on training and educating, because that's what I really love to do. And I feel that's what my mission is. But you know what fear has been? The fear of starting a second business has been really real, especially for the last 2 years. And I was just telling a couple of people in 2018 how when I started my very first business in 2013 and I was thinking about it in 2012, fear was not the issue at that time. In fact, I was in a place where I was excited, I was motivated, I was younger, I was 23, right? And I was just feeling like the world is my oyster. A couple of years later, after I have done so much, then now I want to start a new thing, and I am so afraid of failure. I have been 2018, 2019, up to date. One of the things that fear has done is caused me to be so afraid of what if I fail or make some mistakes I used to make or I had made previously in business. So I used to have this feeling of, am I really sure? And so I just want to plan so that things can go perfectly. But what COVID season has done is it has just caused me to really do what I tell people to do, to go forth, stop overthinking, and just face it.
I think a lot of people can relate to this. And first of all, thank you, June, watching from Chicago. Thank you, Elsie, who overcame her fear and set up her business and doesn't know what she's been waiting for. Those are the stories we want to hear. But I think for me, when this first happened, it was shock. And I remember being somewhere near a supermarket. I could see people going into the supermarket, and I went and bought toilet paper like everybody else. Until now, today, I don't know why I was buying toilet paper. So sometimes fear paralyzes too much. We've never had to buy toilet paper again. Sometimes fear just paralyzes. But after that, you have to deal with the feeling. And that's why I just want to tell everybody here, feeling is not, it doesn't mean there's something wrong because you are feeling it. Because a lot of people think I will overcome fear when I stop feeling it. And then there was no time to be afraid because we just had to get things going. But both you and Dennis, Sheba and Dennis, have mentioned something about the fear of failure. And I want us to understand that how important, the first tip I want you to take away from this conversation is how important it is to understand your fear. Mine has been for a long time, imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. It is just, even when this happened, I was like, have the chickens come home to roost to find me, in my imposter syndrome. And I know so many people, especially entrepreneurs, have this imposter syndrome. And a lot of us are thinking, hiya, I've been caught finally. Yeah. Yet what we have had to do has nothing to do with it. But I want you to understand, fear is like a thief in your house. Yeah. And if you have a thief in the house, the most scariest thing, by the way, is sometimes imagine that there's a thief there in the dark somewhere, not knowing where that thief is. Yeah. At least when you know where that thief is, you can actually deal with it. And that's how you should relate with fear. It's a thief in your house. So it's important to know who your thief is so that you can name it. So are you dealing with fear of failure? Are you dealing with fear of rejection? Because when we just call it general fear, yeah, we're dealing with fear of poverty. Are you dealing with shame? When we call it just general fear, we don't know how to actually tackle it. And fear has to be dealt with. It's a battle against fear. And in page 18 of the book, if you have the book, yeah, I have a cycle about which shows about what do you believe, which becomes what you think, it becomes what you do. And a lot of the fears have come from somewhere, yeah? So a lot of my fears came from also when I was a lot younger, being told I'm too withdrawn and I'm too quiet, yeah? So you can imagine the conflict I had when I realized my purpose is Centonomy. My purpose is teaching people to create wealth. My purpose is doing this, being in front of people all the time. That is what is required. So that fear was clashing, because when you think you're not good enough, you're going to do things like self-sabotage, procrastinate, yeah? And that becomes a cycle that never ends until you realize, oh my goodness, that's what I'm dealing with, and start doing the very things, strategic things to overcome that fear. You actually never move anywhere. Dennis, when you started, because I think a lot of people in this season, as Elsie was saying, there's a move they need to make. It's starting. And a lot of people, whether it's a new job application, whether it's a new business, whether it's a new side hustle, it's that jump into starting. And I know you have done this so many times. What has been your fear about yourself, and what did you do to actually overcome it?
For me, the most basic thing about fear, that level of paralyzing fear,
yeah,
first of all, is to understand that fear in and of itself is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Actually,
yes.
Most people are alive right now because you have a degree of healthy fear of things. For instance, good judgment dictates that if you go for a drive at the park, you should stay in the car.
Yes, yes.
You should stay in the car. Don't get out and stroll, okay? That's good fear. But the thing is, the thing that makes people fearful, from my experience, is you have very little information,
yeah,
or none at all, or worst of all, wrong information. I'll give you an example. The fear of little or no information basically is the one that will make you listen to the naysayers more than the success stories. And in every field, they are there.
Yes.
So you need to get the facts right. So before you move into anything, just have an analysis, like what Sheba has described. Analyze the situation, understand the situation, but also don't overanalyze it. Once you have the relevant information, step by step, start implementing whatever you're doing. And lo and behold, confidence begins to creep in when you take the first step. Because what was, like, for example, a friend of mine was giving us an example of how he did some project debt-free, and it was self-financing, and it was, to us, when we sat down, he did not have the money. It didn't make sense why he was doing it. But he told us, for example, if you're walking to Athi River from Nairobi, and you're starting from the CBD, if you begin to get tired before you leave the CBD, you would rather walk and get to the South B underpass, and sit there, because the next time you catch your breath, you will not be in the CBD, you'll be somewhere on the bus road heading down in your direction. So the most important information I would pass on is get your facts straight. And once you get the facts, that 50% of that fear would disappear, because first of all, you check relevances, like how many people have done this thing and succeeded. And you'll find a few. And then you begin to realize that there's nothing unique about your situation, and you get going.
Yes. That's such an important point. Where do you get your information from? At Centonomy, we tell people ditch the poverty support group. Yeah, because the poverty support group is the group of people who are telling you this is why you can't do it. Let's sit and complain about the economy. Let's sit and complain about the boss. And then just even social media can be a big poverty support group conversation, because it's all about reinforcing how things will not work. And then you get the luxury of playing a victim. You finally have an excuse why not to actually do it. And I think a big fear that holds a lot of us back is other people's opinions. What will other people think? So many times, if we're honest to ourselves, we are not moving, not because we don't think it's the right thing to do, but we are like, what will so-and-so say? How will I look? How will I do this? And let me tell you how I demystified this completely. When I started Centonomy, and Dennis, you talked about it, just take the next best step instead of thinking you have to have all the way mapped out. Yeah, that from getting from number 1 to 10. How about you just get to number 2 and then number 3 and then number 4? So we overthink it sometimes. And when I started Centonomy, everything logically was working against me. There's no money. So I've started a business to help people plan their money and create wealth. Do I have wealth? No. Do I have money in my bank account? No. So fear tells you, you are an imposter. You are not good enough. Wait until the day you have $1 million bob in your bank account. Then you can go and start talking to people about money. But you feel uncomfortable. You do it. You start talking to people about money. There's a voice in your head. Please understand, when there's a thief in your house, they show up as a voice in your head telling you, they're going to ask you about your portfolio, your investment portfolio. But as you start making those steps, Dennis, that you're talking about, what I found out is that first of all, you start getting confidence in yourself. And it was in your head. A lot of times you're thinking other people will say this and that, but they didn't ask that. They just, are you offering a good service? Are you helping me? And then it moved on. But we use a lot of people, or what the voice in our heads tells us that a lot of people will think to actually stop us. Shep, I don't know if you've had anything experience about just getting away. And I think in this day and age, we're being told, leave the normal. The normal is not going to work. Yeah. So there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are going to be stuck in the normal and are going to be voices in your head, but we need to pull apart from them.
Yeah, I really like what Dennis said, that fear can be a good thing, but we have to be so aware. So I've been really studying of late. That's one of the things the COVID has enabled me to do, and I'm really happy. And I was just meditating on this thing and thinking that, fear is helpful. It can be helpful, but it's only helpful for a second, for just a very short time, purely as an alert, as information, as a signal of something. And staying in fear, or choosing, like now what you're saying, to keep on thinking about, so what is going to happen? So who should I be listening to? Staying in fear, it inhibits the ability for you to see clearly, for you to respond positively, for you to even just see any opportunity that could be around. And I like what you have said about, so who are you hanging out with? Because it's true that it's possible that some people that you're hanging out with, thoughts that you end up having in your brain can inhibit you from being able to move forward. So what I can say about fear is, for me, I've just realized there's something that I once learned in Centonomy Entrepreneur in the module that you train called the fear, dealing with fear. And one thing I picked from it is, I said, you know what, this thing called fear, I will not say, you know what, it's not possible for me to be afraid. It's
Yeah.
over. Hey, fear, switch off like a really nice socket, or you'd call that switch, a nice switch, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just, you encouraged me to think about fear from a point of, we will walk hand in hand. I appreciate that you are here, but I also know, thank you for the signals that you have given me. For example, I'll give an example of what I've gone through. When I was really thinking about starting to coach, I started writing down and realizing, so why am I afraid of starting a new business? Okay, failing in what? Not making enough money. Okay, so how do you then sort that issue out, as opposed to keeping on thinking it's about making a loss or not making enough money? When I felt, you know, the fear of rejection, I said, why would I be afraid of being rejected? You know, because maybe 1-2 people could say you are not good enough. It's okay. Is it possible that there could be another 1-2 people that could say, thank you for what you've shared, it has really helped me? Then I'm like, yes, it's possible. So what I'm saying is, if you are out there and you're afraid of doing something, please note that fear is an issue. You should use it in a way for it to give you a signal, for it to give you the alert, to explain to you the why. So now you can start saying, let me sort. If the issue is money, then it means I need to have a proper accountant. I need to have a proper system, you know, that can help me with collections. If the problem is rejection, can I then have a coach to work with me, even if I am coaching, so that I can be meeting up with her every month and tell her what I'm going through. If the fear is not being good, is that I'm not good enough, good, thanks for that alert. So what I'm going to do is maybe study a little bit more, read a little bit more, even get feedback from my clients. So use fear as a signal.
Yeah, excellent. Sheba, I really like what you said. And Dennis, I want you to answer to some of these comments. But Sheba, I really like what you said about be intentional about what you're going to do. If my fear is I'm not good enough, where is that coming from? Do I need to take a course? What do I need to improve? So we don't sit here and just say, because I'm scared, I'm actually going to do nothing about it. And it just reminded me, when I started teaching, I have never taught before. I had never done public speaking before. So this is another myth. Fear cheats you that if you've not done it before, you cannot do it. Yeah. So I've never in public before, but here I've designed this program and I need to teach. Of course, I've told you about my imposter syndrome. That's my main thief in the house. Yeah. So I got up, I remember the day before our first Centonomy class, I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. So by the time I was teaching the class at 8, not only had I practiced the content, that is easy. For the content was easy. But I was practicing because I knew once I stand up and I speak, my head will be like, oh, look at what so-and-so's expression. You're not doing well. You're not doing this. So guys, you have to have a battle plan. Your particular brand of fear, what are you actually going to do about it? So to address it, because I had to actually practice. Dennis, I want to bring you to a point by Roshi. As entrepreneurs, I think you can see it. I think the battles happen in the mind, constantly feeling there's someone out there better than me. Dennis, I know not only have you faced this, but you've also mentored people as they deal with this particular brand of fear that is so common amongst entrepreneurs.
Yes. There's the challenge of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, running a business, is similar to that to yours, which is the imposter syndrome, is that my clients, I will not deliver well enough.
Yeah.
Or as Roshi has asked, I mean, there's the competition out there will overwhelm me. That my suggestion and how we've answered that to ourselves is, what is our unique value proposition? What are we answering? First of all, not everyone is our client.
Yes.
So we sat down to identify who truly is our client. So we're not busy trying to convert everyone to become our client. Then once, Roshi, you identify your unique value proposition, you focus your efforts and attention to that. By that time, you discover that all the people you thought were competitors at times are even complementary to your business. They're not your competitors. I prefer if you consider that the only competition you have is to serve your clients. You cannot lose a client because you treated them well. It is up to you to do your best, do your part, and deliver value to your clients. And thereafter, the ones who did not get the value from wherever they are would gravitate towards you. So how we've packaged this is to create value, not just for ourselves, but also for our clients, and make sure that they have it in an acceptable, timely, and straightforward manner.
Okay, all right. I think I remember doing that. And I think with fear, this has been my journey with fear. And I want to tell you guys, fear is like, it's like you're driving a car and you're trying to move forward. The person, if you have a destination, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose, if you have a goal, please understand fear will check in. Yeah. And what I think we've said from me, Sheba, and Dennis so far is that you can use fear for good. It is showing you something. It is giving you some information. Do I need to learn something? Do I need to practice something? So there's fear. I think even we call it caution, where you're analyzing things. Yeah. So if there's a hot plate in front of you, a stove in front of you, caution will tell you, don't go and put your hand in, you will get burnt. So that's the good kind of fear. But there's fear that paralyzes. And that's what we're saying in this conversation that we have to overcome. So you're in this car and you've decided, I'm going for this job. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to take my business to this level. Who will come? Simply because when you are comfortable and not moving forward, you are not feeling that afraid. Yeah. Fear comes and sits in the passenger seat with you. And you have two choices here. You can either listen to fear, because fear will be telling you how you're not good enough, how you're an imposter, how you have failed before, so you're going to fail again, how your parents were never able to do it, so you are not going to be able to do it. And imagine you're driving this car. If you listen to that passenger, you will stop driving the car, you will go back to the garage and you will sit, hoping, and we cheat ourselves that another time will come when I can start the car again. But remember, fear is a muscle, and what you've just done is weakened your ability or the muscle you have to deal with fear. Or in spite of feeling all that, as a lot of people have been saying, you can actually keep driving. And what starts to happen as you keep driving and keep focused on what is in front of you, the voice of fear becomes less and less and less and less and less. And your muscle becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So that the next time you have a new destination, fear will still come, but your muscle is actually stronger. And I remember this time, went to this big company, did a pitch, and they asked me, when it came to choosing who was going to do the personal finance training, they said, why should we pay you this much? Because you're the smallest company. These other guys have been there for much longer than you. Why should we be the one to choose you? And my fear was telling me, shrink. In fact, reduce your price because you would be so lucky to get it. That's what fear tells you. But I simply blurted out. And sometimes I feel we have to have some of these things with fear. I said, I am the best. Please note when I said it, I felt very scared. I felt very foolish at the time. But 3 hours later, I was called and I was given the training job over and above the big boys at that time. And this is the thing I learned. First of all, sometimes you have to tell your fear to shut up. Yeah, you have to just do something that cuts, that dissects that fear and removes it from you. So mine was just blurting out and saying, I am the best. I couldn't take it back. Yeah. But once I did that, like Dennis, you're saying, value proposition, yeah, I had to be the best. So I had to go prepare that content and make sure I delivered. So I turned around that fear and made it work for me. Because I think we are all here to be the best in something. Yeah, we're all here to get over it, go into purpose and be the best in something, and fear is going to be in our way. And I want people who are listening to understand your fear will be strongest for where you are most gifted. Where you are most gifted, you will have fear. Goliath brought out the best in David. Yeah. So your particular brand of fear is for a reason, because it's dealing with where you're actually gifted. And I think, Sheba, a lot of people are responding also to your story about that.
Yeah. You know, I really like what you're saying. You know, it attacks where you're strong at. And that's why, like, even when in class, WACEKE, when we are speaking to entrepreneurs, and you usually do that exercise and you're telling people, you know, to share what they're really afraid of. And people will talk about, you know, whether it's rejection, they may talk about fear of not making enough money, fear of someone realizing that I don't have enough money as I look like I should. And really, when you look at the kind of solutions they're offering, there wouldn't be anyone better than them to be able to offer that solution. You know, like imagine fear comes in. I like how you usually say it's a thief, because it's coming to take away, because it knows how strong you are, or the kind of service that you've been able to do. And I'd like to share something. You know, you've been using the word muscle a lot, and I've just remembered how sometimes when I go to the gym, or now not gym but workout, is to either shed off certain kilos or build a certain muscle. And to build that muscle doesn't just happen in a day. It means you need to kind of, you know, keep flexing it, keep working out until it grows. And that's the same thing. If I'm afraid about something, it means I need to build confidence in myself. I need to build that muscle of courage and boldness, if I could use that. So it means there are certain workouts I need to start doing that will help me build the muscle of being bold. And that's why I want to encourage everybody who is listening to us, is that fear has been one of those things that we have all faced, like including myself. Many times I come up and I'm about to meet a client and I'm wondering, guy, will they know? Don't they know that I'm also not perfect? And then I look at it and I say, it's not about me, it's about the service I'm about to offer. And so I'd like to encourage you and to remind you, you will not, and back to the example you've given about David and Goliath. You know what? When it comes to building the muscle of boldness and courage and confidence, you will not do it in a day. It means you need to start preparing that workout. It means also think about, you will not be able to defeat a gang of 10 thugs by sending one soldier every other day. You know, it means you need to come out as strong as you can. So you need to start thinking, what are some of those activities I need to do so that I can actively build my muscle. So is it prayer, if you're a prayer person? Is it getting a coach? Is it studying? You know, so that you're able to build that muscle. Otherwise, fear is not taking us anywhere. And else he's saying, for me, I no longer talk to fear. I show fear how it's done. God hasn't given me a spirit of fear, and that's so true.
Yeah, I just want to also talk about, Catherine said, fear has limited me so much, ready to rise above. It limits our potential and purpose. And I want to go into that subject of potential and purpose, because as we say, fear is strongest for where you are most gifted. Your particular brand of fear is fighting something that you are called to do. And one thing that causes a lot of fear a lot of the time is because we're trying to conform. In our heads, there's a standard. I should be, by this age, I should have achieved this. I should have this number of children. This should be my status. This is where I should live. So there's a box we have created. And when we don't when we don't achieve that box, which we had no role in creating the box. In Centonomy, we're always saying, how do you know somebody is wealthy? And people say cars, houses, where they live, etc. But there are so many people who you will not know they are wealthy, but they created wealth by moving out of the box. So trying to conform to somebody else's image of what you should be causes a lot of tension and anxiety and fear. First of all, because we were not made like that. There's nobody on this world who has the same thumbprint as you. So God did not make a divine mistake. Otherwise, he would have put us all in one big heavenly photocopy machine. It is because you're meant to do something and do it differently. But we're so busy trying to conform. And then fear is taking over that we never quite see. And I don't think any other time that has been, this is the time now to really, really, really step into your uniqueness, step into the purpose. Dennis, you are calling it unique value proposition. And Dennis, I'm just going to quote something you have said in a Centonomy open day. I hope you remember, yeah? You said a bigger cause will always trump fear. A bigger cause will always trump fear. Please elaborate, explain for us how having a cause trumps fear and how it has worked in your life.
I'll give you my very first, I'd call baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Where the cause had to trump the fear.
Yeah.
And it was at that exact open day, about 3 years ago
Yeah.
that I ended up giving you that story. And it was interesting because it was, I'm 20 years old, father is deceased, I have a bank loan to pay. And the suggestion of most of my relatives was, if you do not write to the bank, they do not know who to pursue. What a banker friend of mine told me that it's like trying not to wake up in the morning hoping it stays as yesterday. It's not going to work. By ignoring your problem, it just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So my cause was everyone who's left in this family, all of them are young, and the only solution you have to do is you must make sure that their quality of life remains as was or better, and that's your mission. So if this is your mission, simple. So the mission preparedness and mission, the target you want to achieve now has to numb every cause of fear. So simply what I did is I went to the banker and told them, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm here to resolve this matter. They're like, you see, that's a bit hard because they're the ones who now guided me on how those problems are resolved. And I'll give a quick solution so that in case that there's anyone having a problem with a banker here, this is how to go about it. Reach out to the banker yourself.
Yeah.
Don't let them come looking for you, because when you're the one who reached out, it shows the willingness to transact. So reach out to, if you have bad debt or bad credit, reach out to your financial institution. That was number one. Number two, I was 20. I did not know what to do with credit and debt. So simply, they asked me, so what is your solution? What are you proposing? I told them, in fact, I'm happy you said that because I was looking for solutions from you. The lady laughed and she told me, this is the first time someone has come to me asking me for a solution. People normally come with their story straight. The solution they gave me was simply go write your status, okay? And then after that, you simply now come and write to us with a pay plan. And that's exactly what I did. So every time you find yourself with a problem, when you update your information and seek guidance from subject matter experts, someone who knows more on that subject than you, it could be a friend, it could be anything. And to date, I'm a big fan of seeking advice from consultants, because if the person knows more than I do, clearly they should be able to guide me to cut down my learning curve time, because you see, I can stay in it and learn for the next 2 years, but I can also sit down with someone who's gone through it and they reduce that time by an afternoon and point me in the right direction. So that's how I managed to learn a lot from that subject. And simply, when your goal is to avoid poverty, or your goal is to alleviate the suffering of others, especially when the goal is someone else, you discover that you're able to learn more and work much harder.
Okay, all right. You've said some very important things there. First of all, you've dealt with a lot of baggage we carry about the shame of not knowing. I should know, so that whenever I make a mistake, I beat myself down so much because I didn't know. Then I sit in that shame and never do anything about it. As you said, the bank calls, you run away from the phone calls instead of head on. I was talking to someone today morning who said when they first started coming for the Centonomy class, they even used to hide. They used to come, they chose an evening class so that nobody sees them coming for the Centonomy class. And then a lot of us use, because we think we should know, we run away from actually taking the steps to actually find out. And then your goal, whether it's to avoid poverty, whether it's, you've always said, if it's beyond you, if the goal is just not about you, it's about other people, it helps you and gives you, let me call it, fuel to actually deal with that fear. I think for me, when I started seeing, when I used to go, as imposter as I was feeling, when people will say, hey, that budget really helped me, that financial plan really helped me. Even teaching class, when people stand up and say, listen, this has really helped me. When you start seeing it's about somebody else. So this is what I'll say about your goal and your purpose. It has to be bigger than you. Because when it's all about you, it's just about how I live, it's just about how I look, it's just about how I want other people to see me, you live a very, very small world. And because you're living a very, very small world, your muscle doesn't have enough fuel to become big. So it is important to take care of yourself. Please don't get me wrong. Yeah. But what else can you do? And I think when you start expanding your view of yourself, when I started today, I started saying we're in a season of reset and also a change of identity. When you start seeing yourself different, you may have been defining yourself as an accountant, but when you start seeing, apart from accountant, I also have analytical skills, I also have creative skills, I have project management skills, and this is the bigger picture of what I can do with it. It really helps with that. Shepa, you can also touch on what Dennis has brought up about seeing things bigger than yourself.
Yeah. And I was just writing that down where you say your goals need to be very clear and bigger than yourself, because, and for me, let me put it from a biblical point of view. I'm Christian, so a lot of my foundation is really based on the Bible and God as well. You see, it's one thing when we were kids and we were children, it was someone's mission to make sure that, we grew up, we had the food that we needed, we were nurtured to become. But we were not nurtured to become kids forever, if you get what I mean. We were nurtured so that we are also able to nurture. So for me, when I hear Tonkei saying that your goals need to be bigger than you, it makes me realize, that's deep, because I end up realizing that it matters that whatever I do in this life needs to be able to impact, my neighbor, maybe the other neighbor, someone else. And that is the thing that's going to make me, wake up in the morning. Because I won't just be thinking I need to wake up and work nijilimie so that I can just get the avocado just for myself. But when I realize I need to also be able to feed others, empower other people, even if I am afraid and I'm not feeling very confident, I'm going to tell myself, it's not about me. It's not just about me. But the interesting thing is, as I live and I work and I run my business and I do towards the greater good of other people, of my customers, of my community, of my neighborhood, guess what? I'll also be assisted in the process. So why I really like, and I live by that. And even when I came to discover, and I'm still in that process of discover my purpose and realize that my purpose is to inspire, motivate, and empower people to live abundantly by being able to see what can they do with their time, their money, and their energy resources. I realize as I continue teaching, as I continue speaking, as I continue coaching and even having conversations, and other people are assisted, even I get assisted. So let us start asking ourselves, so what's really my mission? If it is true that we were put in this earth for a mission, it means we need to get into the agenda of figuring out, so what is this mission, so that I can work towards it when I feel like it, when I don't, when I'm afraid, when I'm not, so that we can also start getting results, not just for ourselves, but for others, Yeah.
Amazing. Hey, this conversation, I think, can go on for 2 hours. But I want to just speak on something Elsie has said, and also Theron Mota, I'm coming to you. The story of Queen Esther. She had to face her fear, meet the queen. And there's something Queen Esther did at the end. She was like, if I perish, I perish. what is so, and I want everybody listening here to ask themselves here, what is so important to me that I'm willing to, this is how we define fear in the Centonomy entrepreneur class, or we define courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it is the determination that something else is more important than the fear and even worth coming face to face with that fear. Let me repeat it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the determination that something else is worth coming face to face with that fear. Yeah. So what is that? I remember Queen Esther said, if I perish, I perish. What is that for you? And one of the ways to do this, the thing with fear, it does it by visual. Everybody listening here, there's a way your fear comes into your mind. If you fear poverty, and in class, a lot of people say there's a picture. Do you see yourself living under a tree? Do you see yourself being shamed in front of your family members? There's a way that thief is staying in the house. There's a visual. So the way you can also do this is put those things that are bigger than you in front of you all the time. They can be on your phone because we like looking at our phones first thing in the morning, last thing at night. So it can be a picture that just says, this is more important to you, whether it's buying yourself a house, whether it's opening a business, whether it's a type of lifestyle you want to give your family, whether, as we were talking about, it's the cause that's even bigger than you because you know what you were born to do. I think it's only God who can actually give you that purpose. Then also understand, we often underestimate our journey. We always think I have to have something outside of me to go to the next step. And let me tell you what I've learned. Everybody has been positioned. Even your failures have positioned you. Before I started Centonomy, I'd left my job, but I'd failed in my first business. But it is only by failing in that first business that I was able to start Centonomy, because whilst that business was going down, I was having conversations with people from shares, which was my first business, to money. Some people, we hold on to, I wish my parents had this and that, but it is your circumstances, the ones you complain about so much, that have positioned you for something. Don't try and copy somebody else. What is that positioning? Because it has led, all these are steps. So we've also, as a society, have got to stop thinking about failure as something bad. Failure is a teacher. So wherever you have failed, your job is not to run away from it, but actually to see what are actually the lessons. Now, Dennis, I don't know if you've seen Theron's question, yeah?
No.
He's saying, I deal with goats, but fear made him reduce the price because he was afraid to lose his customers. And now fear is holding him back from increasing the price because he's afraid to lose the customers. It's a two-edged sword, yeah?
Yes.
So, and I know especially you being in property, it's probably this is something you juggle every day, yeah?
Yes.
So how do you deal with that?
Before I answer that, there's something you've said about fear, and I like telling myself this statement, that God does not only lead me with the doors he opens, he also leads with the ones he closes.
Yes.
That those failures are very important to also point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
So to the person dealing with goats and reducing prices, here's the thing. I mean, know your quality. From a pastoral community myself, I'm very sensitive about the price of goats. And being fully carnivorous, I'm one of your clients, so I'm surprised that you're talking about reduction of prices, because I've not seen them reduce prices at the butchers. Here's the thing. I think what at times we struggle with, and also happens in our business, is we are targeting the wrong person. I'll give you an example. We go and we have a project on Irwin's Codec Road, currently our latest project, and those apartments are doing 25 million shillings. Now, I would wish I was seeing everyone else on Facebook, on the Facebook live feed, for someone to wonder what is wrong with these people who have 78 apartments for that kind of money. Here's the thing. There are people who hear that price and they're like, really? I thought it would be more. And then you go to someone else, and whatever you're telling them is a far-fetched dream. So they should find their correct client. So despite at times the having to reduce prices, because like right now during the uptake COVID, the uptake of most things that are considered non-essential has really gone down.
Yeah.
Unless you're purely reducing your price because your clients cannot afford and you have to do it for a small amount of time to stay afloat, that is reasonable. However, reducing your price is short-changing yourself. And in the long run, you will discover that then you'll end up closing the entire business because you're not able to keep it afloat. So I would propose to you that also, whilst you're reducing the price, find out who your real clients are and then find a way of selling them at a price they can afford, but at the value that they can accept.
Excellent. I really like what you brought out, that God opens doors, but he's also the same God who shuts doors. And there are people, and I've been talking to people, and some of you who are listening today may be in that scenario. What this season has done for you is also make you realize, and sometimes painfully so, that there's a door that actually needs to be shut. I've talked to people who have realized the career I was in is not the one I want to be in going forward. It is not in alignment with my purpose. There are others who've realized the business I was running is not the one. There are others who've realized the way I was running the business is not the one. There are people who've realized the people I have in my business is not the one. So, and sometimes we're so scared of closing that door because of what might happen when let's say you've realized I need to start a business, but you're in a job. You're so scared of letting go of that job because it's what keeps you comfortable. It's what keeps bread and butter on the table, which is valid, yeah. But what does holding on to that job also cost you in the long term? And you've got to understand what you need to let go of and when you need to let go of. When I started Centonomy, my first business, actually, I was in between. I was trying to run a stock brokerage firm, but I was also trying to report to work every day. But it got to a point where I realized this stock brokerage will never grow if I'm spending 8 to 5 in that job. And for me, despite the ups and downs, what I really wanted to do is for myself, understand what am I capable of doing? Because what fear comes to also do is stop you from understanding what you are capable of doing. But once you catch on to what you're actually capable of doing, then you're on this journey with fear very properly. And I know somebody has said they've realized this journey with fear is a long-term relationship. So if you're in that space where you need to shut a door, shut it. You don't have to say, I'm quitting my job tomorrow, but you have to start making steps in the other direction. So, which will then start to tell you when is the right time to actually shut the door properly. So before I ask Dennis his last question, Fia, Sheba, any last comments from you or experiences from you on this?
For me, it's something I'd like to challenge people to do right now.
Yeah.
And I want you to close your eyes with me, wherever you are, and imagine that you are standing where there is a bridge and, a river and a bridge, and water is is flowing down under the bridge. And you're on this side, the side that you're standing, write all the fears, all the reasons you're afraid of. It could be fear of failure, fear of losing money, fear of losing clients because it's 120 bob, write all that. And then now just imagine what's on the other side of fear, what's on the other side of the bridge, and write all of that down. If you actually faced your fear and crossed the bridge, what's on the other side? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. What is on the other side of fear? What if? Yeah. And I think the challenge in this season is, if not now, when? Yeah. I'm just going to repeat the part of courage because people are asking. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination that something else is more important and even worth coming face to face with that fear. Dennis, you have been through the Centonomy entrepreneur experience, and aside from all the other practical things we teach is a mindset shift, and we deal a lot with this fear. I'd like you, and I think in the talk you talk a lot about the shift mindset wise to being a factory owner. Please maybe let people know what it is that mindset shift was for you as you went through this program. And we can share details on screen of the program as well. Yeah.
Good. The mindset change of an entrepreneur is someone who is determined to offer and change the way they look at life, not as a victim, but as someone who's going through life to offer solutions to themselves and to the people around them. The poverty mentality, poverty is more a state of mind than a state of accounts. In fact, we in Africa are our story is very interesting. Being in real estate, Congo is the world's richest most expensive piece of real estate. Congo, DRC, this one. Okay, this one meaning a few countries away. But guess what? That country cannot afford to feed its own people. Why? Do you tell me that the problem is the country? No, there's nothing wrong with the country. There's nothing wrong with that country. Today, we cannot afford a lot of things. But when you sit down with fellow entrepreneurs and go through the entrepreneurship program, it teaches someone to look at what you have and then make the most of what you have. And after that, teach someone else to make the most of what they have, because the problem has never been what you have. In fact, one of the hardest statements that for me week one was, this is rough. That we were told, you know what? I am the problem. And I'm being told to hold my chest and tell myself I'm the problem. Yet I've been thinking of myself as the person grinding heavily. No. But the issue is, if I cannot see that I am the solution provider required by my business and required by my country, then I am the problem myself. So I would ask all of us to join the program. I mean, basically, if you sit with other entrepreneurs, you learn a lot. I'll give an example. There's a project, there's something in lesson 4, I think 4, that we do, and we're told raise 10 million, is it 30 million in 3 years? Yeah. The first 20 minutes of a 30-minute exercise, most people just stare at each other and wonder, what is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? Why would you ask us such a question? Once you start discussing that it is possible, seeing the possibilities, then within 5 minutes, most groups have raised that money. Yeah. The challenge, then you realize, was not the ability to raise the money to begin with, was they had already failed before they began. So I would strongly recommend that if you want to be an entrepreneur, 2 things you do: get the correct information from Centonomy Entrepreneur and reading entrepreneurship books, but also being in a setting like that helps you listen to other people's stories. You think you know how to run a business, you sit with someone. The last mentorship class I had a 21-year-old who was turning over 30 million a year from selling live. Wow. In November, a 21-year-old. In fact, he missed one class heading for his college graduation. So what is stopping you? The only thing that young man needed is a bit of direction, because he had like 8 businesses. So he audited and shut down. He was helped by someone else in the class who was an older man, not doing as well. But he had the wisdom to tell him, you're doing too many things. And a few weeks ago, he calls me and tells me, you know what? I was helped by a fellow student. So if you keep good company, you become the company you keep. If you sit with people who can help you understand, listen to you, you will learn from it. And in closing, I was just speaking to a friend before I joined this session a few minutes ago. And he said, you know what? You are a solution to someone, but someone is also a solution to you.
Yeah.
Because in real estate, like today, someone called me and offered me a solution. I'm happy that she's watching this, and told me, I noticed sales of property are going down, but you also run a conveyancing business. Why don't you do that? And that was like, should have told me that earlier. So because I am in the middle of it, I am overwhelmed by what I'm seeing inside, but someone else from outside can see it. And we had offered them a solution for their restaurant business because we talked about it and we could see what the people inside. So if you share your problem and with the correct people, they can offer you solutions, because in the multitude of counsel, your victory is sure.
Oh, thank you. In the multitude of counsel, your victory is sure. So before I conclude, maybe Sheba, this is the program Dennis went for is a Centonomy entrepreneur program. So Sheba, maybe you want to take people through what they learn and how they can actually join the class.
Yeah, and you know, now all our classes are online. So if you're out there and you're thinking about, you know, learning during this season about how to build a stronger business and sustain your business, and even just, you know, using the words we've used in this session, build it into a way that it's able to reach out more and serve its mission, we'd like to welcome you to the Centonomy Entrepreneur. That's the program that Dennis attended, and even myself a couple of years ago. We get to learn how to deal with fear. In fact, fear and vision is one of the modules that WACEKE takes. We get to talk about learning and realizing the big opportunities in your business and even in your industry. And you will find me there as well. We talk about accounting, tax, and legal, because it's really important for you not to really be the accountant in your business, but to be able to know what are you expecting from the accountants, from the tax lawyers that you're working with, how to raise money and manage the capital that you raise, and most importantly, how to create structures and digital strategies in your business. So if this is something you're really interested in, we currently are enrolling. So feel free, just take a screenshot of this and you can call the number that's written there. You get to talk to our head of entrepreneurship called Ruby. Check out our pages as well here on Facebook and even on Instagram, Centonomy Entrepreneur. And we just can't wait to see you there. Thank you so much, Dennis, for always being that entrepreneur that coaches us, that shares with us. You're running this really powerful coaching program with us, and we're really grateful, and we just can't wait to continue working with everybody here just to raise businesses that are strong and are sustainable.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I'll reiterate what Sheba said. Thank you for once again coming to share your experiences, being willing to talk to Centonomy, our audiences, not just in the how to do things, but to come and touch on these deeper areas that really, really hold us back. So Dennis, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And thank you for continuing to mentor people and share your experience and journey in a very authentic way. Sheba, thank you so much once again for being here, sharing your own experiences with fear.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Guys, you've had them. And I want you to take home this today, yeah? First of all, understand we were having this conversation because you are not alone. You are not talking to people who have got it together. As I said, we're not counselors, we're not psychologists, but we are people inside the bus in this journey of fear. But we are inside the bus. So don't stand at the bus stop with your dreams. Please get inside the bus. Please understand the take homes from today. Please understand who is the thief in your house. Who is your particular brand of thief and how are they showing up? So if it's fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of rejection, what is, just name it and start closing the doors that the thief uses to enter. Are there certain conversations you should end? And sometimes painfully so, certain relationships that need to come to an end because it's causing too much thief inside your house. It's things we listen to, it's things we watch. Sometimes it has come from past experiences and we just need to understand to shut it. And it's important to know that fear is a thief in your house because the thief is not you. The Bible says we are not given a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power. So the fear is not part of who we were made to be, but they're there and we have to deal with them. Dennis really talked about get information and get information from the right people. If you're out there, you want to start a business, if you want to go after a new career, if you want to reposition yourself, who's the right person? And sometimes the people we love are not the right people. Yeah, nothing wrong, but they're not the right people. Sheba talked about what's on the other side of fear. Go, if you didn't close your eyes, I did. And yeah, you start getting aha moments immediately. What's on the other side of fear? And today we also said, remember, fear it has to be an intentional battle. So what's your plan? What's your plan with that fear? Do you need to take another, is it showing you need to take another program? Like me, do you need to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and practice and practice and practice? And remember, all this, why we are battling fear is not just for ourselves, but because in our lives, each and every one of us has a big purpose. On screen, you can see where to get the book. If your brand of fear is to do with money, this book will help you. The conversations and some of the people who've been on the chat today, Douglas, are a big part of this conversation of how to deal with money, all the way from the practical side to the emotional side to how we were brought up with money, which came with a lot of fear. So you can get the book and start working through that aspect. You can get the book, you can call that number on screen. You can get it online at Rafu Books, at Amazon, at Nuria online as well. And of course, you can get it with our partner bookshops at Yaya Center, Bookstop, Africa Book Hub, and Prestige. So if you call that number, you can get the book, and you can also remember the number you can call that number as well, or the number that Sheba put up when she was talking about the Centonomy Entrepreneur Program. But please do not let your dreams be held hostage by fear. That is not who you are. We all have gone through this journey, and we encourage you to keep building that muscle. So thank you everybody who has joined us from around the world. Today there was Sweden, there was Chicago, there was South Africa, and of course all over Kenya. So we just really thank you, and we'll see you next Friday at 2 p.m. on Making Sense Conversations. God bless. Goodbye.